critical SharePoint zero-day exploited, CVE-2025-53770 RCE attacks, no patch. Imagine waking up to find that your organization's Microsoft SharePoint server has been compromised, with sensitive data exposed to the world. This is the harsh reality that many companies are facing today, as a critical zero-day vulnerability in Microsoft SharePoint is being actively exploited in remote code execution, RCE, attacks. But here's the alarming part, there's no patch available yet, and at least 85 servers worldwide have already been compromised. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE-2025-53770, is a variant of a previously discovered flaw, CVE-2025-49706, which was exploited in a tool shell attack demonstrated at PWN2 Berlin. Although Microsoft patched the original flaws in July, the new variant has left many servers vulnerable. And this is the part that's most concerning, the attacks are targeting on-premises SharePoint server customers, with at least 29 organizations already impacted. But what exactly is happening, and how can you protect your organization? Let's dive into the details. In May, researchers from Vietel Cybersecurity chained two Microsoft SharePoint flaws, CVE-2025-49706 and CVE-2025-49704, to achieve remote code execution. While Microsoft patched these flaws in July, a new variant of CVE-2025-49706, tracked as CVE-2025-53770, has been discovered, and it's being actively exploited. Microsoft is warning customers that the attacks are targeting on-premises SharePoint server customers, and the company is working on a security update. But in the meantime, customers are advised to enable AMSI integration in SharePoint and deploy Defender AV on all SharePoint servers. AMSI, or Anti-Malware Scan Interface, is a security feature that allows applications and services to pass potentially malicious content to an installed antivirus solution for real-time scanning. By enabling AMSI, customers can prevent unauthenticated attacks from exploiting the flaw. However, if AMSI cannot be enabled, Microsoft recommends disconnecting SharePoint servers from the Internet until a security update is released. But here's where it gets controversial. Some experts are questioning why Microsoft didn't patch the vulnerability sooner, given that the original flaws were demonstrated at PWN2 Berlin in May. And this is the part that's most puzzling. The attacks were first identified by Dutch cybersecurity firm iSecurity, which found that over 29 organizations had already been compromised. The company's researchers observed that the attack started on July 18, with threat actors uploading a malicious.aspx file to exploit the vulnerability. The file, named spinstall0.aspx, is used to steal the Microsoft SharePoint server's machine key configuration, including the validation key and decryption key. Once this cryptographic material is leaked, the attacker can craft fully valid, signed __viewstate payloads using a tool called isoserial. But what's even more alarming is that some firewall vendors are successfully blocking CVE-2025-49704 payloads attached to HTTP post requests. However, if the attackers can bypass the signature, many more SharePoint servers will likely be hit. So, what can you do to protect your organization? First, check if your SharePoint server has been compromised by looking for the spinstall0.aspx file. Microsoft has also shared a Defender query that can be used to check for this file. Additionally, keep an eye out for suspicious activity, such as post requests to _layouts/15/toolpane.aspx with an HTTP refer of _layouts/signout.aspx. If you suspect that your server has been compromised, immediately take it offline and conduct further investigations. The question is, what do you think about the handling of this vulnerability? Should Microsoft have patched it sooner? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Urgent, SharePoint zero-day RCE vulnerability, what you need to know. ## a critical security alert, SharePoint zero-day RCE vulnerability under active attack. In a shocking revelation, a highly sophisticated cyber attack campaign has been uncovered, specifically targeting Microsoft SharePoint servers. This campaign exploits a newly identified vulnerability chain known as tool shell, which allows attackers to gain complete remote control over affected systems without needing any form of authentication. On July 18, 2025, iSecurity, a cybersecurity firm based in the Netherlands, reported the active exploitation of this vulnerability. Security experts have noted that this incident represents one of the fastest transitions from a proof of concept to widespread exploitation seen in recent history. ######Key insights. 1. The critical vulnerability in SharePoint, referred to as tool shell, is currently being exploited, granting attackers full, unauthenticated access to servers. 2. The attack involves stealing server keys, which enables the installation of persistent backdoors that compromise security. 3. Immediate patching is essential, along with thorough scans for any existing compromises, as the patch will not eliminate attackers who are already inside the system. ##### From discovery to exploitation in just 72 hours. The vulnerability chain consists of two significant security flaws, CVE-2025-43706 and CVE-2025-49704. These flaws were initially demonstrated by researchers from Code White GmbH, a German offensive security firm, during the PWN2 event in Berlin in May 2025. The exploit remained inactive until July 15, 2025, when Code White publicly disclosed their findings on social media following Microsoft's release of an official patch. Remarkably, within just 72 hours of this disclosure, malicious actors had successfully adapted the exploit for large-scale coordinated attacks. iSecurity's extensive investigation revealed that systematic mass exploitation began on July 18, 2025, at approximately 1800 hours Central European Time, with the first attack wave originating from the IP address 107.191.58.76. A second wave of attacks was detected on July 19, 2025, at 7:28 Central European Time, from a different IP address, 104.238.159.149, indicating a well-organized international effort. The tool shell exploit circumvents traditional authentication mechanisms by targeting the vulnerable endpoint /_layout/15/toolpane.aspx in SharePoint. Unlike typical web shells that are primarily designed for command execution, this malicious payload specifically extracts sensitive cryptographic keys from SharePoint servers, including crucial validation key and decryption key materials. iSecurity researchers emphasized, this wasn't your typical web shell. The attacker exploits SharePoint's inherent trust in its own configuration, turning it into a formidable weapon. Once attackers acquire these cryptographic secrets, they can create entirely valid __viewstate payloads, allowing them to execute remote code without needing any user credentials. This sophisticated attack employs techniques similar to those used in CVE 2021-28474, taking advantage of SharePoint's deserialization and control rendering processes. By obtaining the server's validation key, attackers can digitally sign malicious payloads that SharePoint will accept as legitimate, effectively bypassing all existing security measures. A thorough scan conducted by iSecurity across over 1,000 SharePoint servers worldwide revealed numerous compromised systems across various organizations. The firm promptly initiated responsible disclosure procedures, reaching out to all affected organizations and National Computer Emergency Response Teams, CERTs, across Europe and beyond. Microsoft has officially recognized the threat posed by this active exploitation, assigning a new CVE identifier, CVE-2025-53770, to track the specific variant being utilized in live attacks. The company is aware of ongoing attacks targeting on-premises SharePoint server customers, exploiting a variant of CVE 2025-49706. In a recent tweet, Microsoft stated, "We have outlined mitigations and detections in our blog. Our team is working urgently to release." The company has released comprehensive security patches for all affected versions, including SharePoint Server 2016, 2019, and Subscription Edition, as part of their July 2025 security update cycle. Organizations operating vulnerable SharePoint versions must apply Microsoft's July 2025 security updates without delay. The affected builds include SharePoint 2016 versions prior to 16.0.5508.1000, KB5002744. SharePoint 2019 versions prior to 16.0.10417.20027, KB5002741. Subscription Edition versions prior to 16.0.18526.20424. Microsoft has explicitly stated that no alternative workarounds exist, only immediate and complete patching can fully eliminate this critical vulnerability. ## Indicators of Compromise, IOCS, for the SharePoint tool shell exploit. IOC type indicator description. IP address 107.191.58.76 source IP of the first exploit wave on July 18, 2025. 104.238.159.149 source IP of the second exploit wave on July 19, 2025. User agent Mozilla /5.0, Windows NT 10.0, Win64, x64, RV 120.0, Gecko /20100101 Firefox /120.0 user agent string used during exploitation, also seen in URL encoded format for IIS logs. URL/path post/_layout/15/toolpane.aspx, display mode equals edit and a /toolpane.aspx. The exploit path used to trigger the initial vulnerability, CVE-2025-53770 get/_layout/15/undisclosed.aspx request to the malicious ASPX file planted to dump cryptographic keys, file name not disclosed. File hash, SHA-256, 4A02872AEDC33568CB387C0F01F0E0B9F260DC5CCB7C0F04A84030 hash of the initial web shell observed. B39C14BEP555DF7FD55C814F0D659687947917512Face679731000B70 another associated malicious file hash. FA3A746C015341C02B2CBDF B301C6Z606333497C0B C723617741AF7 hash of a payload specifically targeting the __ view state. Organizations are urged to conduct thorough and comprehensive assessments for any compromises immediately, as these advanced attacks can maintain persistent access that survives patching, system reboots, and standard security scans. To enhance detection, reduce alert fatigue, and accelerate response, consider utilizing an interactive sandbox designed for security teams. Try any.run now, https://any_run/demo/utm_source equals csn and/utm_medium equals article and/utm_campaign equals top_cso_challenges and/utm_content equals demo_and/utm_term. Critical SharePoint zero-day exploit, protect your servers now. Picture this. Hackers are sneaking into over 75 company servers worldwide, exploiting a hidden flaw in Microsoft SharePoint that's so severe it could let them run any code they want without even logging in. It's a digital break-in that's happening right now, and it's got cybersecurity experts on high alert. If you're relying on SharePoint for your business operations, this is the kind of story that demands your full attention. Let's dive into the details and figure out what you need to know to stay safe. This issue centers on a critical vulnerability known as CVE-2025-53770, which has a CVSS score of 9.8, meaning it's extremely dangerous and easy to exploit over the internet. For context, the CVSS score is like a threat level meter, a 9.8 is almost as bad as it gets, indicating high risk with minimal effort needed from attackers. This flaw is actually a twist on another problem, CVE-2025-53770 which had a lower CVSS score of 6.3 and was already fixed by Microsoft back in their July 2025 Patch Tuesday updates. But here's where it gets controversial. Even though that earlier bug was patched, this new variant slipped through, raising questions about whether security measures are keeping up with evolving threats. Some might argue that relying on patch cycles alone isn't enough in today's fast-paced cyber world. In simple terms, this vulnerability involves deserialization of untrusted data. Think of deserialization like opening a sealed package. If the package contains something harmful, it can unleash chaos once unpacked. In SharePoint's case, attackers are tricking the system into processing malicious data, which lets them execute code remotely without any authentication. Microsoft explained in their advisory that this could allow unauthorized access, and they're working hard on a fix, crediting the discovery to Viatel Cybersecurity, who reported it through Trend Micro's zero-day initiative. A zero-day vulnerability, by the way, is one that's exploited before a patch is available, making it a prime target for cybercriminals. It's like finding an unlocked door in a high-security building. Microsoft has made it clear that only on-premises versions of SharePoint are affected, so if you're using SharePoint online through Microsoft 365, you're in the clear for now. But for those with on-site servers, the exploitation is already widespread. Attackers aren't just causing trouble once they're in, they're using stolen machine keys to create fake, trusted payloads that blend in with normal activity. This makes it tough to spot the intrusion, almost like a chameleon hiding in plain sight. And this is the part most people miss. Because the malicious actions mimic legitimate SharePoint functions, standard security tools might not flag them, requiring deeper monitoring to catch anything unusual. Until an official patch arrives, Microsoft recommends turning on the Anti-Malware Scan Interface (AMSI) integration in SharePoint and using Microsoft Defender antivirus on all affected servers. AMSI acts like a vigilant guard that scans for malware in real time, and it's already set up by default in certain updates, such as the September 2023 security patch for SharePoint Server 2016 and 2019, or the version 23H2 update for the subscription edition. If enabling AMSI isn't an option, the advice is to disconnect your SharePoint servers from the internet entirely. It's a drastic step, but it cuts off the attack path completely. For extra layers of defense, deploying Microsoft Defender for Endpoint can help spot and stop any follow-up attacks after an initial breach. This vulnerability doesn't exist in isolation. It's linked to other flaws, like CVE-2025-53770 which has a CVSS score of 8.8 and involves code injection. Together, they're being chained in attacks codenamed Tool Shell, where hackers use one bug to gain a foothold and another to run commands. For example, attackers might exploit CVE-2025-53770 by manipulating the HTTP referer header in a specific way, turning it into something like CVE-2025-53770. This chain reaction allows them to deliver harmful ASPX payloads via PowerShell, steal critical keys like the validation key and decryption key, and maintain long-term access. Those keys are essential for handling something called __viewstate in ASP.NET, which is basically a way to keep track of user interactions securely between web requests. If attackers get hold of these keys, they can forge valid requests that look perfectly innocent, leading to remote code execution. It's akin to forging a master key to a building and coming and going as they please. Experts from companies like iSecurity and Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 have been tracking these attacks, noting that more than 85 servers across 29 organizations, including big corporations and government bodies, have already been compromised. One analyst pointed out that even after applying patches, if those cryptographic keys aren't rotated or changed, the risk doesn't fully go away, which could leave doors open for future incidents. And this is the part most people miss. Misattribution of attacks between related CVEs can complicate responses, potentially leading to underreporting or delayed fixes. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has jumped in, confirming active exploitation and urging immediate action. They highlighted how quick collaboration between researchers, tech companies, and agencies like CISA is key to tackling these threats. But with Microsoft still updating their advisories and the story evolving, there's a lot of uncertainty. For instance, it's not fully clear yet how much overlap there is between this vulnerability and the others, which could spark debate on whether companies are doing enough to secure their systems proactively. All in all, this situation underscores the cat-and-mouse game of cybersecurity, where vulnerabilities can pop up and spread faster than ever. If you're managing SharePoint servers, now's the time to review your defenses. But what do you think? Is disconnecting from the internet a practical solution, or should we be pushing for better built-in protections from the start? And could this lead to broader questions about the security of on-premises software versus cloud-based options? Share your insights in the comments. I'd love to hear if you agree or have a different take on handling such threats.